We're back. Before we get into recording songs, we need to set Studio One up with all the settings in the preferences window. In my opinion, I have all the best settings. Seriously, you can go and investigate all the settings. I'll tell you most of them. I suggest you just copy mine and then we just work on stuff together and you just learn how it all works with me. This is gonna be kind of a longer video, so I'm gonna just get right to it. Okay, so first thing that you're going to want to do is set up your audio interface. So you can just click the picture and that will be right here. I'm using an audio box. Cool thing about Studio One is they allow you to choose if you're recording on a different device than the one you're listening from. Device block size, this is actually pretty important. So what it is Studio One or any DAW at all is a very big boy program, and it's really difficult for you to for your computer to process everything you're doing. So this is supposed to help you. So if you go all the way to the bigger number, this is going to make your computer not have to work very hard, and it's going to be more of a breeze for your computer. But the downside in doing this is it's going to make your latency really, really bad. So if you hit like a chord on your guitar, you'll wait like 2 seconds before you actually hear the guitar being strummed in your speakers. So if you go to 16, then what that's going to do is you're going to hear it instantly. The second you strum your guitar is the second you will hear it come back through your speakers. But your computer will be working very hard. Don't have this box checked. This just means that if you leave it waiting around or if you close the lid to your laptop or whatever, it's just going to unhook your interface, and then when you open it back up, your interface is like, ew, where am I? And then processing, dropout protection, if you come over to minimum, then your speed, your latency will be extremely, extremely fast. You will not really notice it, but your computer might drop out. What that means is like the Apple crash. You'll just see your desktop and things didn't save. So when you're recording, you want it on minimum, not even low. Low is too much. You want it on minimum. When you're done recording and you want to mess with stuff or arrange your song or mix your song or do other things, you put it to maximum. And there's an easier way to get to this page when you're inside of your song. External devices, this is how you connect your MIDI stuff. So if you have like a new MIDI controller you want to connect, you hit add, and you can just add new keyboard and you can fill out all these things, different channels that you want to receive your MIDI from. A lot of the time you get lucky, like me, Nectar, let's see, LX, I have this keyboard, it's just already here. So what I do is I just go like this, and I click where I want it to receive from, and then I hit OK and it'll just work. If you don't have any MIDI, I suggest you go to PreSonus and you go down to QWERTY keyboard, and that sets it up to where you can use your laptop buttons as a keyboard, and it's actually pretty helpful sometimes. I'm gonna get out of there. Wow, my laptop is getting really loud. Let's start with general. So when Studio One starts, this is when you first click the app over here. You can have it to where it'll open the last song or project you were doing. Project is like your album basically. And then, or open the last default song that you've set it to open every single time. Or create a new song. I like to do nothing, so it brings me to this home page right here. Language, English, that's obvious. Appearance, this is pretty cool. You can just dial in your colors and stuff. I suggest you adjust the appearance while you're into a song because it's doing stuff to the actual song page that you can't see when you just do it here. Keyboard shortcuts, this is where you can use your keyboard as quick buttons so you don't have to right click all the time and like go down menus to get what you want done. So I like to do transport, and I like to find record. This one's set to number pad equals, I set it to that. Default, it won't set to this. You can change it. It's default set to something else, but you can just enter the key you want, like D, which is already assigned to duplicate, so I'm not going to mess that up. But if I want a D, I would just hit assign, and it would disassign it from duplicate and reassign it to record. And what that means is the second that I hit D, it would play and start recording for me, and then I wouldn't have to hit it with my mouse. Network, check that, because if you get an iPad one day, then you can control the DAW with it. Touch input, nobody really needs this, but if you have a computer that lets you touch the screen, it'll probably already work anyways. But if it's not working right, you can click this, and what it's going to do is it's going to help you be able to touch your faders like a touch screen. So over in advanced, dude, just trust me right now. You're just going to want to copy all of what I have, because these are just the best settings. All the other ones are for weirdos if they want to do weird stuff. Matter of fact, let me not do advanced yet. I'm going to open a song, and I'm going to go to test song. Now I'm going to hit command, comma, and it'll bring me back to this menu. If I don't want to hit command, comma, I can also come up to here in Studio One and hit preferences. It'll bring me there too. Now, locate when clicked an empty space. If I hit apply right here, when I click randomly an empty space, it doesn't move the timeline right here. It won't move it when I click an empty space. I have to come up to the top bar and move it like this, or rewind and fast forward and like stuff that nobody like ever wants to do. So I'm gonna hit command, comma. I'm gonna activate locate when clicked an empty space. You'll need to do that when you first get it, because that comes default unchecked. Now what I can do is I can just click not on a track, just an empty space, and it'll just move. So if I want to rewind a little bit, I can just click anywhere. You're gonna want that. Expand layers after recording takes. I would check this off. Apply folder track color to content. Just do that. It just basically means whenever you change the color of the folder, all the tracks inside of the folder below it will also follow that color change. It's just cool and easier. Show channel numbers in tracks. You should do that, because that means when you come over to the mix, the track's numbers in the bottom are going to correlate with on the side, and it just makes it a little bit easier for you to know what's going on and what track is what. Don't show event names. I would do that because if you show them, then every little freaking name for each track will show up, and it's really annoying looking. So if you take it off, if you take it off and you hit apply, then it's just going to clean it up, and you don't even need to see those anyways. And then draw events translucent grid shines through. Man, that's wordy. If you just watch what happens. Boom, you can't see the lines through them anymore. And that's kind of nice. I bounce between that setting sometimes because I like the way it looks when it's not there, but sometimes it's helpful to me to be able to see the line through it. So when I have the knife tool out, I can cut and I know where the line is. It's just a little bit helpful when it gets really, really intense on the screen. So sometimes I leave that on. You know what, for right now I'm gonna leave that off just because it looks cool. Automation follows events. That's really helpful. If you see right here, I have automation set. This is like a setting that I'm telling it to change at this point and switch off. Now if I grab this track and move it, it'll move that automation with it instead of having to move the track and then go over here, copy the automation and put it over there as well. I don't want to do that. So what's helpful is that it'll follow the events. By the way, these tracks are like, this is events. These are events on the events screen. These are tracks. This one you can do. I don't really like it. It just means that it's every time you make a new channel, it's going to automatically allow you to create automation for it. It doesn't really like help me, so I just leave it off. Automatically add envelopes for all touched parameters. You should have this one on because that means when you're recording and you move a knob, it'll just automatically set up the automation for you. You don't have to go do it. Audio. Enable play overlaps. That means when you record something Like say I'm recording more of this keyboard and the recording runs into this already recorded part, it'll still play both tracks as audio in this double tracked area instead of erasing the previous one. So keep that checked. Record tempo information to audio files. I would do that because that means if you bounce it to a new song, you can still use that audio track. It'll stretch the track or shrink the event to fit the tempo of your new song that you added it to. Pre-record audio input. So what this is when you hit record, you might take a breath like right when you record, and it'll cut that breath off. This is a safety, so when you hit record, it saves the first 5 seconds if you have this enabled. It'll save the first 5 seconds early, so you can then, oh, that was the best track I ever sang. You can then fix it and get that breath back even though you didn't record it correctly. Console. Enable undo. Yes, you want to do that. That means when you are over here in the mix page and you're mixing, if you're in like EQ, and if I make this movement, I can undo it just like that. And if you take that off, then it won't do it. It'll only do undos on this screen. Colorize channel strips. You should do that, it just looks better. Solo follows selection, don't do this. That means every time you click on a track, it's just gonna make it in solo mode. I wouldn't do audio input follows selection, because that means when you're recording a track like right here, and if it's on like that, the second you click a new track, it's gonna set that one up to record, and it's gonna be really annoying. Same goes for the monitoring, I wouldn't do that either. It's very useful on instruments though, so I would keep those two checked. And services, Studio One literally tells you don't change these settings, so just don't do it. Okay, and then this is your home page, so you can go through your songs, projects, and recent files right here. Your songs are, this is every song you've made, these are your recent ones, and projects, these are like your songs that are thrown into one big album, so this will be like your albums. I usually leave it on recents, but if this gets too cluttered for you, you can right click and clear the recent files, and then it'll clean it up for you for a minute. And then over here, PreSonus puts on their news feed where they warn you about upcoming things, or they tell you about new releases or tips and tricks or forums. They put it all in here. Demos and tutorials, this is where you can just find demos and tutorials. What's cool about Studio One is if you like SoundCloud, you can hook up your SoundCloud account right here, and then you can come up here and just export your songs straight to SoundCloud right out of the DAW, which is pretty neat. Start over here, this takes you to the page we're at right now, our home page. Song, this takes you to the song that you have been working on. If you hit the arrow, you can find multiple ones you've clicked on for this session. And then project, the reason it opened a new one is because I don't have one running right now, but that'll take you to your albums. So if you want to create a new song, you can just hit create a new song. Same goes over here for create a new project and open an existing document. This is where if somebody sends you something and it doesn't put it right into your PreSonus file, it's like on your desktop, you can find it in there. I made a default of preset settings that I like, but you can just hit empty new song. This is if we're going to make a new song. So over here we have interfaces. If you get like a giant soundboard interface by PreSonus, you can just click it right here and it'll already set your ins and outs up for you and give you the appropriate tracks on your side. But if you go to styles, you can do like 16 track band recording, and these are like preset tracks that when you open it up, it just has stuff already open for you to like record into and start mixing on and working out and stuff. That's pretty helpful for people who like that. I personally don't use it though. I just create empty song every time. And then user, these are your own preset ones that you've made. So I like to go over here and name it something random because I don't know what my song is going to be named yet. So I usually just name it like Coolness, and then you can leave it right here in this location. This, you want to make sure that this matches up to your interface. So whatever your interface likes to use, you want to set it to 44.1 or 48.0. The rest of these are the way you want them to be, and you just hit OK. Now we're in Studio One. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. Next video I'm going to go over what all the buttons do in Studio One, and then we'll get working on something.